Hey guys, it's Ray with the education team from Swirlydoos Kit Club, and today I'm going to share with you how I'm making my wall hanging that we have in the August 2013 kit. We've got some Martha Stewart silk screens, and I'm going to show you how to use those, and we have some acrylic pieces, which is a little wall hanging that has 3 different pieces. They're 6 by 6. I'm going to show you how I made mine. I've already started a little bit. I'll just kind of show you one of the panels that is halfway done. So the first thing is I'm going to line this up, and then I'm going to cut it out using my craft knife. Okay, so I use the craft knife for 2 reasons. I could have traced this with pencil and just cut it out with scissors, but I didn't want to because I tend to cut on the outside and I'll make it a little bit bigger, and then I'll just have to go back around anyway with a craft knife or scissors again, and this eliminates that because it's exactly the same size. And the second is that it saves time because I don't have to do things twice. So I really wanted to take advantage of the fact that this is acrylic, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut on the inside of this to where you can still see the clear part of the acrylic on the outline. It just gives it some extra dimension and texture and characteristics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use these deco scissors. Don't laugh. Well, you can laugh, but I do use these every once in a while, but these are the main ones that I use. They just have a jagged edge to them. I could distress the edge, but I don't want it to stick too far off of the acrylic because I'm actually going to be gluing this to the back of the acrylic. So I'm just going to go around with the deco scissors, keeping it right there on the edge. Careful to move my paper so much and not the scissors. You can see you can move the paper around like this instead. You have more control that way. Now I'm going to ink the edges. So once I decided that I wanted to lighten it up, I was thinking that I would use Distress Stain, the Picket Fence, because that's really good for making things a little more translucent, softer, whatever you want to say. It's just making it a little bit softer. But then I thought about when I did that, then my inked edges were kind of going to disappear because this is also water-based. So I decided to pull out something that I rarely use but I really love, and it's the Paper Soft color. It's by Viva Decor. It's fabulous. And it's kind of like Distress Stain because it's very blendable. But if you get it wet with any other medium or water, it's not going to run and it's not going to change what it looks like after you've put it on. So I'm just using green, moss green. Okay, so it's heavily inked. That Paper Soft color is not going to go anywhere. And I'm going to use my Distress Stain. And you really want to make sure you shake this up. So the first thing you need to do with these acrylic pieces is you need to take off the plastic that's on here. It's a protective coating. And I'm just going to take off one of the layers. This is the side that I'm going to stamp. And I'm going to use my paper as a guide. I'm going to use my silk screen. These come all together and you have to cut them up. Keep this because it's going to stick back on there when you get done. Okay, so in the kit you get some liquid pearls. You get black and you get this pink. I'm also going to be using this green because I'm going to be using multiple colors on here. And in the kit you do get a large squeegee. I'm going to use that at the end, but because I'm using multiple colors of paint, I want to use something a little smaller so I can get into the details, and I'm just going to use this. It came in last month's tech kit with the gelatos. So what I'm going to do, because I want it to be two-tone, I'm going to use the pink for the flowers, and then I'm going to use the green for the leaves. So what I need to do is find the flowers first. Here's one, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put a little dollop of paint right there. And there's more right here. And what I find is, when I was experimenting with this, you don't want to put too little of paint. You're going to have to waste some a little bit in order for it to get well covered. If you just put the bare minimum on there, then it's not going to be even. So it's worth the effort to put more on and just kind of waste some. Now that I have it on there, I'm just going to scrape it. Now that I've got this color on, I don't want to put it on any more of the silkscreen. I can go ahead and take this off and just wipe it on a paper towel. And now I'll take that larger squeegee and just go over the whole image and pull it up and hope it comes out awesome. And it looks pretty good. I do see that I have some marks. When you use a larger squeegee, some of these are going to get on here, some of these smudge marks. You can just take them off with a little bit of water. I'm just going to use my finger. Scratch it a little bit, my nail, and then use my paper towel here. Okay. And this needs to set aside to dry for a few minutes before I do the next step. So now my paint is dry, and I want to adhere this piece of paper to the back, and I just want to make sure I've got it in the right spot. Okay, just for mental purposes here. And what I want to do is I'm going to have to take off the back side of that plastic protecting. I'm going to take off this protective plastic on the back. And flip it over until I get ready. Okay, so I'm just going to put some zip dry in the middle, somewhat of a big blob, and I'm going to take my palette knife and I'm going to push it through. And you really have to shag ass when you're doing this. There's no time to fool around. You want a thin coat so you're not making a mess on the back of the acrylic. And you want to get it on there as evenly as possible. Just do it quickly. And just to make sure it gets on there, I'm going to take a brayer and really secure it on there. And that's all I'm going to do with the panels before I start decorating them. So I finished using the silk screens on my acrylic pieces, and I've also adhered my papers to the back of the acrylic. And the next step that I did, and I did it off camera because I don't really think that you need to see me doing this, is that I picked a piece of paper from the main kit. It's the one that looks like this. And I printed out some quotes on here. And the quote is, "Remember this moment, cherish this story, celebrate this life." I saw it on Pinterest and I thought it was pretty cool. So I wanted to incorporate that onto my wall hanging. So what I did is I used some memory box dies. This one is a memory box die. This one is too. And then I had this piece of chipboard from my stash. So I traced these out, cut them up, and then I just used some distress ink, red burlap, Okay, so now that's centered. And before I start embellishing with some twine and some of the little black flowers that came in the kit, I want to put it together. And the kit comes with this piece of chain. This is a really hefty chain. And I thought I would just put these together, but I noticed that this chain was, the little links were a little too short, so I'm adding some jump rings from my stash, and I always am on the lookout for different little pieces of hardware like this at Michael's. A lot of times you can get it right there in the clearance area. Just keep your eye out for these if you don't have them. It's a good way to stock up on things, and then when you need them for occasions like this, you have them. Okay, so this is the top part, and I have these jump rings that I've already opened up, and I'm using two different tools. I'm using these cutters and these little pliers, and you get these in the jewelry section at Michael's if you don't already have them. You don't necessarily need them, but they make it a little bit easier. Here's one that I didn't do. You can see it's closed. It's pretty hefty, so it needs some help. I just put the wire cutters on one side, and then I push open like that. What I decided is I wanted to use 4 links to connect each one of the pieces. So what I did is I took some of the chain and I counted to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and on this 5th one I used the snips. It just opens it up a little bit. That one was kind of open a little bit already. And then I hold it and I try to push. This is a really strong chain. Okay. Looks like a big enough hole. I've got my 4 links and I'm going to try and pull it out. It worked. And then I'm going to close this one up using these pliers. And next I'm just going to embellish it. And I'm going to start out by using some twine from my stash. I'm going to use a little over a foot for each side over here, and I'm going to make bows onto the chains. So I'll be doing something like that for each one of the sides right here. For each one of these chains is going to have one of these little bows on there. I'm going to add some of the little black flowers. I'm also going to take those and put these on the frames that have the quotes on there. And then I'm probably going to put a couple of rhinestones on there, but you guys don't need to see me do that. You'll see the finished picture with the finished product on there when I get done. So I hope you get one of these add-on kits. They're really fun. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. Not just what I've done. Andy's going to show you her awesome project too. Also available on the video today. So be sure to check that out too. Thanks for watching.